Well, it's the last day of the year I get to say it, so I got to say it really well. Hello and welcome to Catholic Answers Live. I am Cy Kellett, your host. It's the big year-end show because today is the last day of 2024. It's been a big year for some people, I guess. For some people, not. I don't. It is 8 billion people on the planet. So, but a lot of news this year, as there is every year, and we're going to get to it all from a Catholic perspective. With our two guests for the Flannel Panel. We like to close out the year with the Flannel Panel where we talk about the news of the day. Today it'll be the news of the year from a Catholic perspective. Our guests are, first of all, in studio wearing his flannel, Chris Check, president of Catholic Answers. Hello, Chris Check.
Merry Christmas, Cy.
A good year being president of Catholic Answers? Oh, and thank you for the Merry Christmas.
We're still in the octave.
That's right. Yeah, we can say it. And then you can still say Merry Christmas.
Say it all the way to the 2nd of February.
Yes,
yeah.
and many people do.
Yeah.
And that's one of the great things about being Catholic.
But the answer is yes. It was a good
year.
Every year to be president of Catholic Answers is a good year. I have a great job and I have a great staff. That's why. And we do great things.
I got to tell people something about you, though. Next month. Do you know what I'm going to say? 10th anniversary.
I turned 59.
No, 10th anniversary as president of Catholic Answers.
I think that's true.
Yeah.
Did you get that from my LinkedIn page?
I did not. I don't do the LinkedIn thing, but because
I get people I have no idea who they are who want to be LinkedIn friends with me.
And do you let them? I don't know how it works. Do you have to say yes, you're my LinkedIn buddy, or?
Yeah, in the main. Typically what I do is if somebody else I trust, I don't know. I think maybe I should just shut the whole thing down.
I don't know. Also with us,
do you have LinkedIn?
Joe Heschmeyer, apologist here at Catholic Answers. Hi, Joe.
Hi, it's good to be here.
Do you have LinkedIn?
Technically, although it is my least favorite social media platform.
Boy, what does your job say on the? Isn't LinkedIn like a job thing? Like what is your job?
It just says like, here's what I do, and people can be like, we recommend you for skills, and occasionally people will reach out to me, but I'm not looking for a job. I think you'll be happy to know.
So, we'll see how this show goes.
It's been dormant for years, and so I maybe check it every 6 months, and then see these messages people I don't know have written to me, and I always just say, like, I'm so sorry to get back to you so late. But I mean, I do that with email and Facebook and Patreon and everything else.
I have my emails automatically start with, it's already in there. I'm so sorry to get back to you so late. And then I just go from there. That's how I've got it set up that way. I'm not going to give out the phone number today. Usually I do. Usually Catholic Answers Live is live and taking calls live. If you are traveling or in a place where you aren't usually and you're just getting us, you can find out all about what we do at Catholic.com. We're an apostolate of lay people devoted to explaining and defending the Catholic faith. And we'd love it if you'd make a habit of listening. We'd be very grateful to have you as a listener and maybe a caller sometime. Just not today, because today, a little bit of a pre-record. We're actually home. Joe is drinking hot chocolate. Chris is drinking hot toddies.
Is Joe wearing his smoking jacket?
Joe's wearing a smoking jacket. Now, wait, do you have flannel on underneath it, first of all?
I have checked, which I've been told is not the same as flannel.
It isn't.
But
I hate that we have a guy on Flannel Panel who can't figure out what flannel is.
Yeah.
Like, put that on your LinkedIn page. I don't know what flannel is. But you are the best dressed of us.
Thank you. I'm glad to have that acknowledged. I can't disagree with you, obviously.
No, you always can't
got like
disagree
a thinly weaved pattern on this bulky red smoking jacket, and it's got a little bit of an interesting gold trim. And I would venture no one else has worn this in 30 years. And that's probably conservative.
That's not.
You've been smoking for 30 years, Joe?
I've never smoked anything. I just like the giant, very warm, I should add, very warm smoking jacket. It might be more appropriate for outdoor use.
Some of your answers on Catholic Answers Live really have made me think you did smoke something. So I'm glad to hear that.
I see what you did there.
Have not smoked anything.
All you people who are not watching on the YouTube channel, look what you're missing.
Boy, you are missing some festive holiday looks.
Sartorial.
I don't even know how to describe it.
I want to do like if we can use, I don't know, AI or something to go back through and see how many times on the Flannel Panel Chris has worked in the word sartorial. I would venture it's 4.
Really?
And I feel like that's not a huge number, But I bet more than anyone else on the show.
I bet 2025 is the year that AI becomes capable of doing that, where you just tell the AI. How many times has Chris said sartorial?
I'll just remember. I can just remember. I said it 8 times.
Oh, I don't believe that he remembers that.
It's a word that applies because we talk a lot about what we're wearing.
Yeah, that's true.
Part of the show.
That is the weirdest part. We always start with a stupid fashion show for radio. We do a fashion show for radio. I just realized how bad
That's part
this
of the
is.
charm.
Is that it? We call that
I
part
think
of the
after
charm.
this, I'm going to start a YouTube channel and just have it be me smelling different things and trying to describe it over video. And just be like, yeah, it's really a bold smell. I don't know if you'd like it or not.
It's really a bold smell.
That was funny.
That's what cooking shows are, though. Like I can't
True.
watch cooking shows. I don't understand cooking shows.
I don't get it either. I do not get it. People love them, though.
First of all, I feel like, do any of you have a microwave? Just heat something up. What are you doing? You're killing yourselves here for this. So,
Drive through somewhere.
Drive. Do you not have a car? Is that why you're doing all this work? All right. So what we do each time we do Flannel Panel, which we believe is going to be monthly in the year 2025. Isn't that right? Darren says yes. We're probably going to get to this monthly in 2025, which for many people is just an exciting thrill. For most people,
Terror.
yes, I think that's the word. But we do the news of the day from a Catholic perspective. What I have done this time, how we end the year, is with our poll of our listener. If you're a member of Catholic Answers Radio Club, you were polled this. That's right, Darren, isn't it? Oh, you looked quizzical, but that's right. Yeah, Catholic Answers Radio
He always
Club.
has that look.
Does he? Yes.
How did my life come to this? I think it's that kind of life.
The other day I was having a conversation with Darren, where I believed throughout the conversation he was trying to get me to change my mind about something. So do you remember this conversation? And then I changed my mind, and he looked disappointed. I was like, I don't know how to make you happy, Darren. And he said, my wife says the same thing, that I don't know. He was like, I really felt, he did not say, I want you to change your mind on this. I just felt throughout the conversation. So then I changed. And then he looked disappointed that I changed. I don't know what to make of that.
Maybe it could be like a police interrogator or something. Or...
Oh, yeah, you could be, right, because you can't read them.
Vaguely disappointed police interrogator.
Yeah,
I like that.
like,
That'd be a good...
like the person confessed and he's like, I was hoping this would take longer. All right. All right. I was kind of hoping you didn't do it.
What did you change your mind about?
I do not remember. Maybe it was about how to do the survey that we just did. It might have been something about this survey. Okay, so anyway, what we're going to do when we come back from the break is we're going to get to all these questions that I asked. It will include the big story of the year. It'll include the Catholic person of the year, a negative thing that was said about me in the vote for Catholic person of the year, which I need to confront on the air.
Therapy?
Not in therapy, no. No, my therapist is sick of my complaining.
Different?
But no, this is basically therapy for me, yeah. So also we added some categories. Catholic Word of the Year. That's right, Catholic Word of the Year. And
is it sartorial?
It's not, but it's going to be next year. We're working on it. And then Catholic Podcast of the Year. We decided to, because Catholic podcasting has become big. So we wanted to ask people.
Yeah, now that Bible in a Year is, it's already had its moment, everybody else gets a turn. But like when Bible in a Year first came out, if you did, Catholic Podcast of the Year.
Yeah, you couldn't even get on that list.
Right.
It was just Bible
in a Year. It would be like doing a poll of, which country has the most Russians. And you're like, probably going to be Russia this year.
Yeah, I know. But I'm going to tell you something, Joe. It's not over. Wait till we get to the results.
Ooh.
All right. Also, we're going to talk a little bit about a story that all three of us, I believe, are agreed should have received more coverage, needs to receive more coverage. And so I didn't ask people what their opinion. Well, I did ask their opinion on this, but this is just motu proprio. That's. Do you know what that means, Joe? Motu proprio.
It's like from your own person,
from your own initiative,
proper.
Yeah.
Oh, is it your new hairstyle?
My new hairstyle is motu proprio.
Is that what?
Yes.
The story is?
My hairstyle survived till the end of the year. We'll be right back. We're going to cover the whole year with the Flannel Panel, and we have the big listener survey. The Catholic world waits every year to find out who Catholic Person of the Year is. So you better be attentive. We're going to get to it after this on Catholic Answers Live.
Catholic Answers Live.
Do you have a question but prefer to ask it privately? Catholic Questions can help. Go to CatholicQuestions.com to ask your question online, email us, drop us a letter, or give us a call. Longtime Catholic Answers Live apologist and author Jim Blackburn or another Catholic Questions apologist will be happy to assist you. Catholic Questions proudly supports Catholic Answers Live, so visit us at CatholicQuestions.com today. That's CatholicQuestions.com.
Underwriting for Catholic Answers Live is provided by Magnificat. Published monthly, Magnificat features texts of daily Mass, prayers, articles, meditations, art commentaries, and more, in step with the liturgical rhythm of the Church, on the web at magnificat.com.
EWTN, helping people grow in their love and understanding of God.
Listen to EWTN, listen to the Catholic stations, but turn away that mainstream media, that mainstream news. It's all nonsense.
I come from a family of 16. I was really encouraged when I was listening to your radio station, and I just think everything you were saying was absolutely true, and that there's still hope out there.
Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. I am Cy Kellett, your host. Our guests are Chris Check, president of Catholic Answers, Joe Heschmeyer, apologist and author extraordinaire here at Catholic Answers. All of us wearing flannel. Well, one of us is kind of wearing flannel and a smoking jacket. Flannel panel.
It looks velvety.
It does look velvety.
I'm notoriously bad at knowing fabrics on account.
Really,
we've already
Joe?
established
I'm
I don't know
shocked.
what flannel is. So I would describe it as red.
I really believe we need to bring. I don't think we need to bring back smoking necessarily, but the smoking jacket is an awful nifty
the
look.
use of necessarily in that.
Smoking
yeah,
jacket.
there's this kind of like level of lounge that people got into in the 70s that I don't know if we've ever hit those levels again. You have like the deep inclines. I mean, you go back and look at these houses built in the 70s, and sometimes they have like
the sunken living room
recess in the floor of just a place to hang out with.
It's
like
called a
shag
sunken living
carpet
room.
And,
It was so many people broke their leg on that sunken living room that they that they finally figured out. Oh, you can't do this.
When did it come?
It doesn't work for living, but lounging, it's great.
Oh, it's awesome to look at too, just to see the sunken living room.
When were they popular? The couch sets that were actually, they call them playpens or sectionals, or you know what I'm talking about? It was the couch, and then it went this way.
I think
and then
they've still got
there was
that.
the cube that came in.
Oh, the cube, yeah, in the middle. Yeah, there was a lot. Also, there was waterbeds at that time. I don't know if anybody still does a waterbed, but a waterbed was a thing.
They're great if you don't have a back.
Yeah, right. They're made for invertebrates. Water is actually a great place
the ocean.
for invertebrates to live. As a matter of fact, all the invertebrates live there. Well,
jellyfish,
that's not true.
Love it.
Yeah, they do, right. All right, I'm not giving out the phone number because we're talking about the news of the day. You want to do serious or fun first? You guys pick. It's up to you.
Oh, we're supposed to start with fun.
Okay, we're supposed to start with fun. That's what Chris says.
What were you going to say, Joe?
I was going to break it up and do serious just to try to help get us back on track.
Well, it's been pretty serious so far.
Well, there's some serious in this next fun poll. What I did was I did topics, and then I asked just people to simply say yes or no. I just said a word, and then like luce, and then people had to say yes or no. And there's like, I don't know, 10 or 12 of them here. So you want to go through the list? Because the way we
is yes or no approval?
I don't remember if here I probably do have. In each of the following, please choose yes if you are in favor and no if you are opposed.
So approval.
So yes, approve or disapprove.
Okay.
Right. And the fun part is, well, no, it says endless fun. I mean, right now we're about to enter a zone of endless fun. But you guys have to say your answer, then you have to guess what people answered, what actual people answered, and then I tell you the answer. So, yes or no to the following things: dogs in restaurants. Yes or no?
No.
Oh, I'm a no on that too.
Yeah, and I'm a dog owner.
You're a dog lover.
Stop it, people. And dogs in grocery stores, and dogs in the little basket where children are supposed to go. Stop it.
You might be getting ahead of. I didn't know we were going to get a rant right away. So, but okay,
one of
that was
my
a pretty
favorite
hard
lines
no.
from Pope Francis is he called this out. People who don't have children and then just have dogs, they put in strollers.
Yeah.
And you see that in places like Europe.
You
see it in big cities in the U.S. too.
Dog
it's not
strollers outsold people strollers in Korea. In South Korea.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, wow. I would like to say this about dogs in restaurants. There are people who really don't like dogs. There are people who are afraid of dogs. I think the maddest I ever got at my kid, or one of the maddest, was when they let their dog run up to somebody who was clearly afraid of dogs, and I was like, "Get your dog! You can't do that to people." And I just don't approve of them in restaurants. Restaurants are for people. Why do we have your dog in a restaurant?
Can I ask for some clarification on this question? What about an outside seating area that is, quote, dog friendly?
I'm very much in favor of the outside seating area, and I don't care if there's a dog out there.
So
I really
you're-
don't. I'm okay with that. You can bring a giraffe out there. I don't care.
Okay.
It's outside.
Because
You take what you
I
get.
would say I think it's okay to bring your dog to the dog friendly outside seating area.
What do you think, Joe?
And I think it's fine if restaurants want to like pitch that as an angle. You know, if they're like, we've got a hip, cool vibe where we're dog friendly, that helps. It tells you what kind of place the restaurant is, and you can choose to go there or not go there.
Yeah.
And if you go there as someone who doesn't like dogs, sit inside. So I'm fine with that too. But yeah, bringing dogs into places dogs don't belong, I don't love that. And also misusing terms like emotional support animal to justify bringing your dog where you should leave your dog outside.
Or not pay for it on the airplane.
Narcissistic.
Yeah.
All right. So, what do you
Right.
think is the percentage? Let's go with the no percentage. Out of 100%, what percentage said no to dogs in restaurants?
71.
85.
And the answer is 81.6. Chris wins. 81.6.
Wow.
Can we keep score? I'm going to keep score.
I'm keeping score.
I'm gonna
Because
keep
last year, I
Chris.
think
Is it just which of us is closer, or is it like you get points by how many points off you are or something?
No, it's just who's closer. What do you want me to do? Math on the air? What do you?
I would have loved that.
You never been on the show before? Okay. Yes or no to the following question, gentlemen. Luce. For those who are listening and don't know what I am referring to, Luce is the anime figure created by the Vatican Communications Office in support of the 2025 Jubilee year, which we are now in. Yay, Jubilee year.
Yeah.
Yes or no on Luce?
No.
You're a no?
I'm going to go yes.
I'm going to go yes,
the thing
too.
is, Luce, okay, there were cycles to it. At first, I kind of rolled my eyes, as I think most grown-ups did. But then within about a day or two, the internet had produced some hilarious Luce memes, and I found her kind of lovable in that way, you know? Like
Yeah.
it was Luce as a crusader, you know, all this stuff, where it was like, all right, this is great. And then within about a week, it was like, all right, we're done with this joke now, and now we're on to the next thing. So, you know, the Vatican had one spin on the meme cycle, and that's what it was. It was neither more nor less than that. I don't think a ton of people are becoming Catholic because of it, but I'm not really sure what the point of Luce was, but I think the effect was.
I
people
I
had
know
fun
the
for
point
Joe
of
is
it.
giving every reason why the answer is no.
But I'm
by
going
the
to
way.
argue on the yes side because I have a very strong no argument, but I decided to go yes on this. And here's my thing. More people know about the Jubilee year because of Luce. So it got a lot of press.
It was
That's-
illuminating. Luce, you know,
Yes,
means light.
another bilingual pun from Joe Heschmeyer. Thank you. Luce means light in Italian.
It was
Or Latin.
it was silly and
No,
childish and trivial, and it trivialized the Jubilee year.
All right. You guys aren't going to like my reason that I almost went no. You're not going to like it, but I'm dead serious about it. I am not joking. about it.
not attractive either, and not even.
Oh, I think she's cute as all get out. I love little old Luce. I want to get a Luce doll. I'm going to get one for you, Chris. It's going to go in your
For
room.
my 10th
I'm going to put it. That's your 10th anniversary gift, a Luce doll. Look, here's my complaint about it, and I know you guys are going to groan when I say this. The majority of Catholics on the planet Earth are brown-skinned. Why is she white?
Oh.
We should have.
No, I think that's totally fair. If you look at the group of Luce and her amazing friends, all of the darker skinned friends are in the back. And I don't think that was intentional, but it is
It's awfully European,
really,
though.
like, right. If you're trying to amplify the universality by even giving her a diverse group of friends, then maybe think about how you present that message. I think it backfired a little bit.
How is it that
I know people roll their eyes at that, but it is true that, what is it, 3/4 of the cardinals are European or American. But if you think about who most Catholics are, most Catholics are in
African
places
or
like Africa,
South
Latin
American.
America, and East Asia.
Yeah.
So, you know, having a little, I guess,
Little skin color, little pigment.
a
would have
little
been-
representation, as they say,
Yeah.
wouldn't be bad. Although I think if you have Italian septuagenarians trotting out a dark-skinned Luce, I'm not sure that would have been a great look either. So this was a little bit of a lose-lose.
That could have been pandering.
Well, I mean,
How come Sean Winter Michael hasn't
Sean Michael Winters.
How
hasn't
come
done
he
anything on
hasn't
this.
written on this yet?
I'm actually surprised nobody
I'm gonna bet
wrote
he
on it.
has, and we just haven't been
Paying attention.
Because she
exposed
looks like
to it
she's
yet.
coming on pilgrimage from Frankfurt, and why not come on? Why not come on pilgrimage from Nigeria or come on pilgrimage from Brazil? Like that's where the Catholics are.
Yeah, they're not any in Germany anymore.
I know, right?
That's why you take a pilgrimage to get there.
Oh, by the way, did you guys hear about the first Catholic in Frankfurt? I think it was Frankfurt. Did you guys hear about this? No, this is a real news story.
There were more than one. Oh, go ahead.
The first Catholic, they found archaeologists found a skeleton buried, a dead guy buried. Okay, and he's from the year 270. They could date him to the year 270, and he's wearing a confession of the Catholic faith around his neck, and nobody knew that the Catholic faith was north of the Alps that early. People hadn't found.
Cool.
That is
So
fascinating.
just last week they found a Catholic, our brother Catholic.
This was in Frankfurt.
You know what? Now I'm forgetting which city, but I think it was Frankfurt. Do you guys remember which city it was in? But anyway, it was north of the Alps. It was somewhere in Germany.
I looked this up.
And yeah, it was a beautiful little. He was basically wearing the creed, like a little creedal statement. It was like in honor of Saint Titus, and then also in honor of Jesus, who's the Lord, and then a confession of Jesus as Lord on a silver plate around his neck in the year 270. That's pretty cool, I think.
That is. The grave in which it was found is dated to between 230 and 270. So 270 is actually
that's the latest date.
The latter end.
Okay.
And yeah, it says so it's
what city
a
is
fragment, so we don't know the first words, and then it says of Saint Titus, holy, 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 in the name of Jesus Christ, Son of God, the Lord of the world, resist to the best of his, and then we don't know the word. All seizures, setbacks, and then the question is God? We don't know if it says God grants well-being, admission. This, and then seemingly the thing he's wearing, protects a person who surrenders to the will of the Lord Jesus Christ, the Son of God. Since before Jesus Christ, bend all knees, the heavenly ones, the earthly, and the subterranean, and every tongue confess. So yeah, I mean, for
that's beautiful,
context,
isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, it's striking that there's also an invocation of Saint Titus as well.
Yeah, yeah. So what would we call that? A veneration of the saint. And
I mean, a lot of these secular descriptions are calling it an amulet, which makes it sound, needlessly superstitious. I understand why they're saying that, since it says this protects the person who surrenders to the will of the Lord Jesus Christ.
Right.
It's a sacramental. I mean, it's like a scapular where you're entrusting yourself and visibly showing your entrustment. So it's really beautiful. I didn't know about that. The spread of Christianity north in Roman Gaul, right to the Rhine River, I knew about, but this is on the German side of the Rhine, which, was
that's
many
rough
years
territory.
before
Yeah, you
270.
think it's not till Boniface or whenever.
So right. So did I get the city right though, Joe? What city was it in?
You did.
Oh,
It's Frankfurt.
Frankfurt. Yeah. So that's very far north. A Catholic.
Yeah,
guy.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be looking at this the rest of the show, so don't ask me any questions, please.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I got one more. Yes or no? Yes or no? Meatless Friday obligation. We polled our
Hard
listeners,
and
and you guys say hard
Hard
yes.
yes.
Oh
Hard-
wait.
Oh, wait, you didn't
did
tell
we get
us
the
on the
numbers
on the Lucci
on
numbers.
Luce?
Oh, Luce. She was.
No, we have to guess.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I apologize. I messed up my
I'm
own
going to say
bit.
60% said no.
I'm gonna say 60% said yes.
Chris gets another point. 69% said no.
Oh, wow.
That
So,
just means it's
thank
old
you,
people
grumpy listeners.
answering.
Yeah, go Catholic
Yeah.
Answers listeners.
all right, but Chris is ahead of you, 2-0.
That's,
All right, meatless obligations. You both
Winner
said
gets a
both
Lucci
said
doll.
yes. I say yes too. I'm okay with. I would like to see a little more Catholic distinctives. I would like to see some more Catholic distinctives. And this is a good one. I like this one.
Yeah. And look, there's something about culture. I can do a short version of this, or I can do a rant version. I'll do the rant version.
Here we go.
Every
Buckle in.
identifier that binds people together also separates them from those outside.
Right.
This is the nature of signs and practices and cultural identifiers in general. So if you say we're going to have one day a month where we all wear flannel, then anybody who's not wearing flannel might feel excluded. And so the only way you can create a church in which nobody feels excluded is to create a church in which nothing binds you together. Because the minute anything binds you together as a cohesive whole, that could also separate people who don't share that.
Right.
So we have to be very mindful about how do we create a culture where we are on the one hand welcoming, but on the other hand have something distinctive to offer. Because we can't be so welcoming that we're totally like the world and are completely like what people are used to, or there's nothing on offer. Now, obviously, there are some parts of that what's on offer that are unchanging, the gospel, Jesus Christ. But historically, there have also been a lot of other things, which is it's a way of living, and there are these distinctive markers. And there's something really attractive about that. I mean, Fulton Sheen has that great line where he talks about how we got rid of the rosary and people started doing mantras. And nuns got rid of habits, and then people introduced the maxi skirt. And it was like, as soon as you get rid of these markers, people will look for them elsewhere. People introduced Meatless Monday because they weren't finding a Meatless Friday.
All right, we're going to find out what our listeners thought of the Meatless Friday obligation right after this on the Flannel Panel on Catholic Answers Live. We hope that one of the things that we communicate here at Catholic Answers Live is that our Catholic faith allows us to be fully serious about all the problems we encounter in the church and in the world, but it also lets us have light hearts and maybe even mix in a bit of fun, and that is exactly what our good friend Joe Heschmeyer does in his popular podcast, Shameless Popery. You should check it out at shamelessjoe.com. Joe's got a deep grasp of the faith, of morals, the teachings of the church, all that, but he's also got a witty conversational style. He entertains and he informs, but you will leave equipped to better answer the most common challenges, misconceptions, and questions about the Catholic faith. He's got insightful guests, he does on-air debates, and he takes a close look into all the things that you want to know about as a Catholic living today. You'll walk away knowledgeable and filled with joy. Look for Joe on his YouTube channel. Check him out at shamelessjoe.com or wherever you get your podcasts. And if you like what you hear, become a patron.
Why We're Catholic is the one book you can hand to anyone to invite them into or back to the Catholic faith. With more than 400,000 copies sold, Trent Horn's book has had a #1 ranking on Amazon.com for 5 years running. Now available in softcover, bulk cases, ebook, and on Audible. Find out what the excitement is all about. Order your copies of Why We're Catholic at shop.catholic.com or visit whywearecatholic.com.
Many people have forgotten just how revolutionary the Bible creation stories are. But the first 3 chapters of Genesis are a powerful challenge to anyone in any generation who would undervalue human lives. In the Beginning, the new book by Monica Migliorino Miller, will take you on a fantastic journey through the first chapters of Genesis, unfolding the richness of life as God sees it. Get In the Beginning today at shop.catholic.com or ask for it at a good Catholic bookstore. Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. It's the year-end show, and we gathered the Flannel Panel to talk about the news of the year rather than the news of the day. We're starting with it's our survey. We survey our listeners, and they give us the answers, and we ask them yes or no on a bunch of questions. Right now, we're on the question, Meatless Friday obligation. All of us said yes. We're in favor of the Meatless Sunday obligation. Would you guys like to guess?
Friday.
What did I say? Sunday?
I'm in favor of the Sunday obligation too.
For Mass, yes.
Yes. If anything, almost an obligation to eat meat. It's a day of rejoicing.
Oh, yeah. Can I do a little rant? Let's also just return to holy days being on holy days.
I like it. Yeah. I mean, I think you have to acknowledge that, like, there are families that it's really hard, but then you just give them an easy dispensation.
Do you know before that crazy progressive Pope St. Pius X, there were 36 holy days?
It was Pope St. Pius X who got rid of them?
Yeah, who brought it down to, I think, 10. And then, for example...
now I'm glad he's a saint.
Well, Corpus Christi, Peter and Paul, Epiphany... There's one other.
All these things were obligation days?
Those are all Sundays now. They're all moved to Sundays.
Yeah, so I think that when we talk about moving things off of their actual day, there's 2 reasons you move it. One is
and neither are good.
the holiday falls on a Sunday, and I want to still be able to celebrate it, but I don't want it to trump the celebration of Sunday. There, I'm fine with moving it to Monday, and that's what the liturgical norms call for. So that I'm okay with. Like if you say, this December, the one we just came out of,
Immaculate Conception
fell on a Sunday.
second Sunday of Advent. That's the big example.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so anything like that, I'm fine with moving it to Monday and just having 2 holy days in a row.
Right. Yeah.
But what I don't love is when we take things in the 2 that really get me.
Ascension Thursday, I know.
Because it's in Scripture.
Right. It's like it's in Scripture. It's 40 days. This wasn't something the church came up with. Like we didn't invent that on the calendar, so we shouldn't be the ones moving it.
It's stupid.
And the 40 days matters. Like,
yes.
And the first novena is that period of 9 days between the 40th day and the 50th day. I know mathematically it's 10 days, but not counting the end days. You've got like this 9-day stretch where you say, okay, we're going to pray and await for the coming Pentecost. And you lose all of that. Like you lose the beauty of 40, you lose the 40 to 50 and the novena connection and all of that, which is all biblical and traditional, in favor of what? People might have to go to Mass on a Thursday. It's always Thursday, too. So you're never going to worry that it's, people might have to go to church 2 days in a row. Now, I agree with Chris. There are some people that might be difficult for, and you can create an easy practice of allowing people to be dispensed if for good reason they can't go. I'm fine with that.
They're a fireman or whatever, and they're on duty.
Right.
This is the other difficulty with moving those holy days is they lose their theological significance in our imagination. So I think Epiphany does not hold, especially among Western Christians, the place it should in our theological imaginations because it gets moved to a Sunday.
Right.
And then also because the octave of Epiphany has been done away with. Similarly, Pentecost.
Right.
Or if you look in the Old Rite, you see that what we now call ordinary time, those Sundays were numbered as such and such day after Epiphany or such and such Sunday after Pentecost. So the mind is always being called back to this exceedingly significant event. And one of those is Ascension that we don't even think about. We don't think about all that is going on in the Ascension of our Lord because it gets moved to Sunday.
What would you guys think?
Can I add one more thing to that?
Yeah.
If you go to a holy day during the week, on some level, you're forced to ask, what is special about this day that I'm going to Mass today? When everything is moved to Sunday,
that's a great
you may
point.
or may not even notice that it is the holy day being celebrated on Sunday.
I feel like
you're
I
going
just
to
said
Mass
this.
because it's Sunday, not because it's a holy day.
Yes.
So you're not making Sunday better. You're just making the holy day worse.
Yes.
Okay, so you have to guess now. Chris is ahead 2-0 on the guessing. Meatless Friday obligation, yes or no? We polled our listeners. What percentage said no? What percentage said no?
14.
I'm going to go 15 using Price is Right logic.
Good Lord, it is 14.9.
Oh, wait.
That's amazing.
So I get 2 points for being as mathematically close as possible.
I can't believe that. You guys are... So 85.1% said yes, and Joe, by mere 0.4% took that one. Nice going, Joe, because rounding. Rounding works. Are you mad?
No, I just want. No, I'm not. I'm actually kind of thrilled for Joe because that was.
I'm
if
glad
I
you're
had done that, I'd be excited too. And
You're pretty close with 14, I guess.
Oh my gosh! What a sore winner!
This is all I want. I just want to challenge all Catholic Answers listeners.
Yeah.
You're making your New Year's resolutions. Make this one right now. I'm going to do for all 25. I'm going to do Meatless Fridays, regardless of. I mean, by the way, that is still what the church requires, unless you're going to do something else.
I'm going to write that
So
down.
let's just do that. Let's all of you listening to Catholic Answers Live. Let's just all do this together. We're gonna do Meatless Fridays.
What? Chris is calling for a movement here.
And
I like
if
it.
you need, if you need a reason other than your own sanctity or the ones you love, for the success of the Catholic Answers Apostolate in bringing the gospel and the fullness of the truth to more and more people. So there you go.
Beautiful.
I like this idea. I also think, and for those of you listening who work
didn't come
in
up with
churches,
Yeah.
push for your church to practice it. And what I mean by that is,
have a fish fry.
I've been to enough Friday events in Catholic churches where meat is offered, and I think, what a horrible example this is.
Yes, it is.
And in some cases, only meat is offered, where it's like, of all the places to not have any kind of respect for the liturgical year, it's sad seeing it in a church. And so you can enforce this kind of at home, so to speak, and people will get more in the habit and start to kind of observe and respect it more.
All right, next one. Yes or no, altar rails.
Yes.
Now, for a lot of people don't know what an altar rail is. Probably the younger people don't. But you said yes, Joe, and you both said yes.
Absolutely. We have an altar rail at my church.
I actually love the altar rail. I don't know why. It's a leftover from childhood. I wish we could have. It's not like a huge liturgical thing to me. It makes it easy for people to kneel while receiving. I like that. But it's also just cool. It's better than the marching.
It looks beautiful. It's, if you have small children, actually a lot easier to keep them out of the sanctuary if there is an altar rail and you can show them very clearly, like, you don't go there.
Well, on that point, I have heard when we did it here in the Diocese of San Diego, like 30 years ago, a commission on including the people with disabilities. One of the things was getting to the what's that part where the altar is called? Getting to the altar, basically, is difficult for people with disabilities. But I think that'd be easy to fix. I don't think that would be hard.
You could easily.
You could.
And alternatively, the priest could come forward to a person, in a wheelchair or immobile. My parish, everyone receives at the altar rail except those who are not able. And the priest comes to them first and then communes everyone else or communicates everyone else.
All right, so the altar rail is a railing where you can kneel, and people kneel in a line side by side. And then the priest does one side, and then he comes over and does the other side. And it seems to me more efficient, for one thing.
It's way faster.
Yes, it is.
It creates more of a sense of peace and reverence because you have a moment to stop and collect yourself, even if you're going to receive standing. Like, I'm not even going to get into the standing versus kneeling
You can,
debate.
by the way, you can still receive
You can stand
standing.
at an altar rail. There's nothing physically preventing you from doing that. And I've seen people do it. But you still are now in a position where you can quietly collect yourself and have a moment of interior prayer and recollection where you're not moving and, again, juggling children. Whereas when everyone is going up in a line. So I know Cardinal Cupich of Chicago recently called for the opposite here, but there's no, he wanted everyone just basically to process, nobody to kneel, nobody take time to actually pray before receiving Jesus in a private way because it's not part of the common celebration. And I just think whatever liturgical framework that is, it's not one that I relate to or find spiritually satisfying, or one the church has called us to. Like, the church doesn't say, don't privately pray.
But the altar rail also solves all the problems that Cardinal Cupich points to. I mean,
Correct.
You obey the cardinal. He's the liturgist of his diocese, and I'm not fussing at him. But all those problems that he pointed to are solved by an altar rail. So
right. If you're worried about people in front of you distracting you, it'd be great if you're side by side, not looking at the person next to you and what they're doing. You get the uniformity. You get all that stuff.
All right, so let's have a percentage on no's. We'll do how many people said no to the altar rail? What percentage of our
14.9.
And Joe?
15 has served me really well so far.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe you're doing. You have to go first next because you're doing the Price is Right thing.
I was coming from behind, so I'm being a little okay. No, if I were just without taking Chris's guess into consideration, I would guess 31% said no.
All right, Darren, you're going to have to do the math on this one because it's 20.6%. So I think Chris is actually closer.
Chris is closer.
All right, so Chris got that one. Joe,
I gave you that point.
You gave it to him.
That's funny. That means there are some people who are in favor of fish on Friday or meatless Fridays, but not in favor of altar rails.
Yeah. No, I knew it was going to be higher. I actually thought it was going to be higher than...
I think some people might think that you can't stand if there's an altar rail, but it's perfectly if you have any kind of look. Old people always stood at the altar rail, like really old, they can't get back up. They're not going to kneel. Nobody cares what you do. But all right, let's take a quick break. Right back with more with Flannel Panel on Catholic Answers Live.
There's only one Catholic Answers Live.
Underwriting for Catholic Answers Live is provided by Real Estate for Life. Real Estate for Life connects home buyers and sellers to real estate agents while supporting pro-life organizations. On the web at realestateforlife.org.
One of the biggest mistakes a Christian can make is to try to do good without God's help. St. Therese said, when we trust only ourselves and not God, our soul becomes incapable of virtue. Her remedy? Works of charity. And the greatest work of charity is to share the gospel. At St. Paul Street Evangelization, a Catholic nonprofit, we encourage you to share the gospel with someone who doesn't know Jesus. Catholic Answers is supported in part by St. Paul Street Evangelization, streetevangelization.com.
As the largest religious media network in the world, EWTN has an important role in educating others about our Catholic faith and spreading the good news of salvation. We invite you to explore our numerous pages of historical faith documents, prayers, teachings, and other current issues in Catholicism today. Visit EWTN.com and click Catholicism. EWTN is the global Catholic network.
Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. I am Cy Kellett, your host. I'm going to go a little quicker. Yes or no?
Good luck.
All right, so it's we polled our listeners with yes or no questions. Yes or no, dogs and strollers. We already know you're both opposed. You already said you're both opposed to dogs and strollers. So guess the percentage of our listeners?
Dogs in restaurants.
We did dogs and restaurants already. This is dogs and strollers. This is dogs and strollers.
How much of this was born out of some bad experience you had with the dog before you made this survey?
All of it. Yeah. All of it. A really bad experience with a dog. I'll tell you about it if you want. I'm
going to say 80% against. No, I'm going to say 85% against dogs and strollers.
85% no? What do you say?
I'm going to say 90% said no.
89.1% said no.
Chris, I'm going to have you be in charge of all survey-related guesstimates.
Chris got that one right.
I just want to say very quickly, it's not good for your dog.
Be in a stroller?
Your dog is meant to walk. You're gonna create an anxious, antisocial creature. And also someone who's a dog that's not getting exercise. So you're hurting your dog stroller people.
It is an odd affectation.
Stop it.
I would say odd affectation. Although
almost like if you really want to get a stroller, you should probably just have a baby.
Yeah, or a grandchild.
On we go. All right, yes or no. Our listeners voted yes or no on the following: the Eras Tour.
What?
Chris doesn't know what it is.
Wait, I do.
I wondered if he would know what this is.
I do.
All right.
The answer is no.
No?
Yes.
I am a qualified yes on this one. Why are you a no on the Eras Tour?
I think she's an exhibitionist. Are we talking about?
Are we opposed to that?
Are we talking about?
Miss Taylor Swift.
Miss Taylor Swift.
Kelsey's girlfriend.
Mrs. Taylor Kelsey. Yeah.
The biggest musical tour in the history of the world by 100%. She doubled the closest competitor.
It's actually crazy.
Yeah, $2 billion.
The economic effects of it are insane.
Yeah.
You hear about
that's why I'm in favor.
Places,
That's
like
why I
countries
say yes.
that are actually trying to bring her there just to stimulate their economy.
Yeah, that's why I say yes. Billions of dollars in business generated because of.
I can think of
Taylor
a lot
Swift.
of things.
I don't know a single Taylor Swift. Wait. Shake It Off, right? There's one about.
Yeah, you can do Shake It Off. I bet you could do.
Yeah, there's something about being in the bleachers. I'm in the bleachers.
Is there? I don't know about
that.
There was back in her country
cheer team.
Era.
You belong to me.
Yeah, I'm impressed.
She's an exhibitionist.
This is amazing.
And I'll be very glad when we're not hearing about her anymore. And by the way, okay.
All right, guess our listeners.
I'm gonna say I think all of the critiques of Taylor Swift should be contextualized with compared to whom.
Yeah, that's what I feel like.
If it's just I don't like pop music, I don't like female pop stars, something like that, I totally understand that critique. But if the critique is Taylor Swift is worse than somebody
Ozzy
else, or
Catch
any of
on
the other popular female musicians, like Beyonce's got way darker, more obviously demonic kind of influences, or what's her name? Olivia Rodrigo. Isn't she the one who gave a portion of all the proceeds to Planned Parenthood? I mean, you've got some really nasty stuff out there. Plus people who are much more lewd and graphic and vulgar and everything else. And Taylor Swift is by no means the exemplar I would hold up for my daughter or the music I would recommend we play at church. But if you compare her to the other people in the pop music space,
yeah, that's why
I feel like she
there's
gets
way worse.
a lot of attacks just because she's big, not because she's bad.
Yeah, right.
Okay, I have 1 cheer for Taylor Swift, or 1.5.
Okay, here we
I
go.
think she's written most of her own songs.
There we go.
And also, she did stand down the music industry there with the whole Spotify thing or the streaming thing, and then
That's right.
she just re-recorded them. Fine, I'll just re-record them all, so I own them.
She seems to be a brilliant businesswoman.
So she shut down. She shut down the record labels there. But here's the problem with Taylor Swift.
Okay.
You're right. She is not as much of an exhibitionist as some of the others, and maybe her stuff isn't. But there is a darkness about it. Many of her songs seem to me to fit the genre of "I'm not happy." Or I'm
there is that wallowing
I'm
in
angry
misery.
at, or men have been a disappointment to me.
Yeah.
And
Get in line. We're a disappointment.
And
deal with it.
And
that's how we are.
I believe that the Swifties, if that's what they're called, the 13-year-old girls or whatever, what they are getting is the message from Taylor Swift is that men are a disappointment.
Oh, that's that.
And this is that's that. I don't care how much economy.
I want to balance this on the other
I don't
side.
care how much economy that stimulates.
Yeah.
I'm going to guess that 64% of our listeners said no.
All right, I'm going to move on because we're getting near the end of the hour. I don't want to go into the next hour with this. School vouchers, yes or no?
What was the percentages?
Oh, the percentages on the Eras tour. Go ahead, guess.
I said 64 said no.
64 said no. You said?
I'll say 70 said no.
Joe won that one. It was 88% said no to the Eras tour. We have a
listeners.
grumpy group of listeners.
I love our listeners.
School vouchers, yes or no?
Yes.
Chris
Chris is going to say yes, but tax. And the
Yeah,
government
I'm
should have a hand.
actually no, but I need 30 seconds to explain
Yes,
it.
no, take 30 seconds.
A
Go ahead.
tax credit is much better. A payment from the government means eventually you're going to have to do what the government says in terms of your curriculum. So a much better way is a tax credit.
All right.
Does that make sense, what I'm saying?
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
I actually, you converted me on that. And I think that's what they do in your state, Joe, right?
But
It is.
Yeah, but I'm guessing that a lot of our listeners, the majority of our listeners, like school vouchers.
All right, so give us a percentage. Joe has to go first. Joe has to go
Okay,
first.
okay.
Joe.
I'll go 72 yes.
I'm going to
72
say
yes.
77.
Oh, Chris took that one. It's 87.9% said yes on
Nice.
vouchers.
Good job, listeners.
All right, let's go to the next one. An Australian-style ban on social media for children under 16. Yes or no?
Yes.
You're a yes?
I don't know.
I'm going to say yes, and I'm going to go 90% yes. I'm swinging for the fences on
All
this
right.
one.
I don't even know what we're talking about. An
Remember,
Australian.
Australia doesn't like kids on Facebook.
Australia banned kids on...
banned.
We
Banned. I thought you
literally
said banned.
did it late.
Oh, I might have said
Flannel
banned.
Band.
I don't know.
Banned.
Aus-
Okay.
Australia-style
no,
ban
I'm 100%.
on social media.
I'm absolutely in
Banned on
favor,
Facebook.
and
The
I'm
Wiggles.
going to say 95% of our listeners said yes.
Siobhan just came in. Siobhan, yes or no on this? I need your vote on this. Siobhan is the most important person at Catholic Answers.
This is the truth.
Yes or no? Should we ban social media for children under 16?
Yes.
She said yes. All right. So that's the right answer. If Siobhan says it, it's just the right answer.
Yes.
So, all right. Percentages. How many people want the Australian style ban?
I said 95%.
95, and you
I
said
said
what?
90.
It's 87.9%. 87.9%.
Joe?
Joe did it. All right.
It's hard to put our listeners in a box.
Yes or no, dogs in airports? Real quick
That's
on
because
this
they don't
one.
like rails.
Yes or no, dogs in airports?
Yes.
Yeah, someone's going to sniff for drugs.
All right. And what did our listeners think?
I'm going to say 74 said yes.
Joe?
I'm going to say 50-50.
It was pretty close to 50-50. 46% said yes. So Joe is rocking right now.
What is our score?
Okay, let's see. Chris, 1, 2, 3, 4 for Chris. No, wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for Chris. 1, 2, 3, 4 for Joe. It's 4-5 right now.
I've been through many airports with dogs.
This is what happened to me in New Zealand. The drug sniffing dog didn't like me. And the guy said, he goes, the dog doesn't like you. All right, have a good day. And I was like, wait, I could be a drug smuggler. Like, the guy thought I was so sedate and boring looking, it's not even possible that I was bringing drugs into New Zealand.
He's just like, the dog's like, you smell. And he's just like, I want you to know that even though there's nothing criminally wrong, you're the kind of person a dog doesn't like. Have a good day.
I think that's what it was. All right, traditional Latin Mass, yes or no? I regret putting this one on there, by the way. Because I think you need more on this. But traditional Latin Mass.
I don't know does that mean I go to it to the exclusion of the ordinary form?
That's the problem.
Then it'd be no. If should it be freely available, then absolutely yes.
This was a bad one. I don't know. So
yeah, the answer is yes.
Okay.
Should it be available? Yes.
But I don't know if that's what I was asking. So I feel bad about that.
Maybe the listeners didn't know.
But the listeners, what were the percentages? What percentage said no to the traditional Latin Mass?
13.
40.
Chris got that one. It was 21.7%. Chris. All right, we polled our listeners on a series of items. This is the last one on the list. We asked our listeners their view, yes or no. We just said, say yes or no, approve or disapprove to each of the following items. This is the last one, possibly the most important item on the list. Yes or no, listeners, to National Public Radio.
I'm going to say no, and that they said no. I'm going to say 82% no.
I'm going to say 83.
And your view?
Oh, look at that. He should have gone first. Yeah. He's got a 2-point lead.
It was 73% no. All right, I'm going to add up. I'm going to... do you kept score?
6-5.
Yeah, that was a close
Chris
game.
won 6-5?
I did.
He did.
Oh man, if the refs were fair, that would be the Chiefs' record. All right, 6-5.
That is exactly the caliber of comment Chiefs haters have, and that the math doesn't even work out. It's not the right number of weeks.
Oh,
like,
cry,
you
baby, get over it. I
football.
could joke about your team. Oh my gosh,
I'm just joking.
Wearing a smoking jacket and loves Patrick Mahomes.
That's we're smoking the other teams.
All right, we're not giving out the phone number today because we've got a lot of important business to do. We will get to the really big issues coming up. That is, we asked people the Catholic Person of the Year, the biggest news story of the year, the Catholic Podcast of the Year. That's a new category, and we are really looking forward to that. So we will get to that all on the other side. But we're also going to do a little bit of hard news, and I'm just going to tell you what we're going to do when we come back. On the other side, we will start the next hour with a discussion of what I think should have been one of the biggest news stories of the year and was almost completely ignored. And I want you both to think, can you guess what news story I'm talking about? Almost completely.
Is it dog related?
It is not dog related. I love dogs. I just had a bad experience with one this year.
Airports, restaurants, strollers, dogs in Nicaragua.
Okay, so what do you guess is going to be the story that I'm going to get to that should have been covered 1 billion times more than it was?
He just said it.
Dogs in Nicaragua?
No. The persecution of the church in Nicaragua.
Yeah, the persecution of the church in Nicaragua. I will bring out my old tried and true. If it had been, do you know what I mean? If it had been X being persecuted, would it have been covered?
Muslims and like the Uyghur Muslims in Western China.
Yeah, if it had been Uyghur, and you know what? You should cover the persecution of the Uyghur. I'm not against it. I'm not against it. I'm just saying.
I actually think that's an undercovered story as well, but it still gets more coverage because they're not the persecuted Christians.
Yeah, Nicaragua is, I think, 40 miles from San Diego. I don't know. I'm not good with maps. But
41.
It's 41 miles. It's very close to the United States. How much have you heard about the persecution? And the persecution, I'm gonna read to you when we come back. I'll read to you from. I know you're gonna have feelings about the news source I used, but they did a very good report. Our Sunday Visitor News did a very good report.
I like Our Sunday Visitor. I published 2 books with them.
I wasn't talking to you when I said that.
I know. I just wanted to go on record.
I know you have feelings about our Sunday Visitor.
God bless our Sunday Visitor.
Me too. I believe God bless our Sunday Visitor. Did they possibly overcover a story this year that?
Oh.
We'll get to it. I'll explain when we come back on the other side. But they did a very good report on Nicaragua. So we're going to talk about Nicaragua as the story that didn't get covered this year. But then we'll do all those other things. And we'll ask people about their opinions about news stories from the election to the Synod on Synodality to the Eucharistic Congress to... I don't know what else to say, too. Catholic Answers Live. Hey, if you're just finding out about us, if you're like, hey, I've never even heard of these people before, it's probably because you're on vacation right now and you're in a rental car or you're somewhere that you haven't been before. Or maybe you got arrested for drinking and you're in the pokey and they have it on there and you're not usually there. And whatever the case, if you just found us, you can find more about us at Catholic.com, the second most popular Catholic website in the world after the Vatican website. Check us out at Catholic.com. And we do this show every day, usually taking live calls and answering your questions. We'd love it if you'd become a regular listener. We're going to take a very quick break. We'll come back. We'll talk about Nicaragua and the rest of the news of the year with the Flannel Panel, Joe Heschmeyer and Chris Check, with me, your host, Cy Kellett, on Catholic Answers Live. Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. I am Cy Kellett, your host. Joe Heschmeyer and Chris Check are our guests. That's the flannel panel. Chris, president of Catholic Answers. Joe, apologist and writer extraordinaire, also the podcaster behind Shameless Popery, which I went a whole hour without mentioning it. I apologize for that, Joe. It was a very popular podcast this year because it used to be a blog and then it became a podcast, and now it's just exploding in popularity. You can find out about it at shamelessjoe.com or just get it wherever you get your podcasts. Shameless Popery. Welcome back, gentlemen.
I love Joe's podcast.
Thanks. Good to be back.
Do you?
Yeah.
Me too. All right, we said that.
You were a little more convincing, Chris.
That sounded like a ringing endorsement. I kind of got stuck. I'm sorry, I got stuck between thoughts.
Well, I mean,
I love it, Joe. I love everything about you, Joe. You're the best.
There's a depth to it.
Yes, right. But it's not. It's personable though. It's not like academic depth.
No,
it's, like
it's not.
Engaging.
It's not inaccessible.
Yeah, right.
But the truths of our faith do require some unpacking from time to time and some reflection. I mean, they're really limitless in the graces that they can provide, and Joe's just superb at that.
I believe I can help you explode in popularity on YouTube, however. It should be a thing that you wear that smoking jacket for every episode. I don't know.
I'll so in favor.
I don't know why you're not wearing that
I'll
every episode. That should be your outfit
so
right there.
In favor.
Or maybe just get a collection of smoking jackets in the liturgical colors. So you're wearing the appropriate liturgical
Yeah.
Oh, this would be for martyrs.
Maybe we could work in some holiday-themed ones for secular holidays as well, like President's Day, smoking jacket, etc.
Is there an Abraham Lincoln joke in there somewhere? So I don't get.
No. I was just building on your idea.
All
No,
right.
you're overthinking this one.
I'll tell our friends in the development department they need to raise money to get Joe smoking jackets for his podcast.
That seems like a worthy thing to undertake. Juno,
the people who respond to that don't deserve to have money, so it'll be all right.
There's some people that don't deserve to have money, huh?
Someone's going to send a smoking jacket now.
I want to get to this. Juno Arocho Estevez, writer for Our Sunday Visitor News, wrote an article on December 11th. For Catholics in Nicaragua, the year has been tragic on every level. Here's part of it. In Nicaragua, the days of public celebration, processions, and outward expressions of the faith are fast becoming a distant memory. As the Sandinista regime of President Daniel Ortega continues its brutal persecution of the Catholic Church. Ortega's crackdown on the Catholic Church began in April of... By the way, if you're listening right now, how much have you heard about this? Really, how much have you heard about this? It's a brutal crackdown of the Catholic Church in a country like 3 countries away from us. And how much have you heard about it? Ortega's crackdown on the Catholic Church began in April of 2018 after deadly protests against his government-proposed reforms, which led to calls for his ouster. Hundreds were killed in the repression by the police and paramilitaries. Despite criticism, now I'm trying to skip ahead. The Catholic he turned the blame on the Catholic Church. Now I'm not quoting, I'm paraphrasing a paragraph, for inciting violence. According to the Associated Press, Ortega, who rules the country with his wife, Vice Presidente Rosario Murillo, accused the church of plotting a coup and labeled the country's priests as terrorists. Any thoughts so far, gentlemen?
It's been a really tragic chapter and a really tragic story.
Yeah.
The scandal, there are many scandals. One is how little it's been reported. I haven't heard about it on NPR. But what has the United States government done? What has the State Department done? What has our reaction been to this?
Right.
From a Catholic president. Joe Biden is.
It's stupefying. The idea that nothing. All you have to do is draw attention to it.
I'm not sure.
Say one thing at a press conference, and it will become news. But now, partly, I think presidents just respond to the news. I think that's just a fact of presidents. They're the pretenses that they're making it, but they're mostly reactive. And the fact that there's almost complete incuriosity about this in the New York Times. I mean, they report on it, but it's not the big front page banner it would be if it were. And then I'm sorry, but I love playing the game if it were, because it points to people's biases. If this were transgender activists being jailed and thrown out of the country, where do you think this would be in the news reporting cycle? It's just
seriously. When Uganda had anti-LG education, laws, a few years ago, it was international news everywhere, and,
Right.
and reasonably so. Like if people are picking on groups and using violence to kind of crack down, that is a worthy news story to cover. And so here it is, the silence is deafening and deadly.
The historical precedent here, of course, not far away, is Mexico. The Mexican Church made an effort to destroy the Catholic Church. Mexican government made
Right.
in the 28, 29, 30, and then into the 30s, depending on what state you were in. The war was called La Cristiada, and its heroes were the Cristeros. But the antagonist in the story, Plutarco Elias Calles, is doing the exact same things that Ortega is doing, confiscating church property, hospitals, Episcopal residences, universities. I think a couple of Catholic universities have been shut down. And then the deportation of, starting with the foreign clergy, but now I think even, I think members of the episcopacy have left the country. And now clergy are being deported. Certainly, foreign clergy are being deported. But this is right out of the Mexican playbook from late 20s, early 30s.
Can I throw in another name that I think this is very much like Henry VIII?
Oh yeah,
I mean, there's
destruction of the monasteries.
They're throwing nuns out. They're closing monasteries and convents. It has a vicious Henry VIII kind of feel.
Archbishop Cranmer said at the time when they were shutting down the monasteries and throwing the nuns out in the street, he said, "We're going to turn them out in the world and let them find real work."
Yeah,
that was Cranmer's thought.
Yeah, and the thing is, what struck me about the introduction to this very fine bit of reporting in OSV is this is destruction. This is not just an attack on the church. This is the attempt to destroy Catholic culture. The description that this author gave of the and let me give the author's name again, Juno Arocho Estevez. The description of the ending of processions and festivals and the feasts. This is Catholic culture. This is what we are as Catholic people. This is who the Nicaraguan people are. And that identity is being stripped from them by, I'm trying to think of the right word, and I'll run it by you. Evil communist dictator. I don't know if that's too
Masonic. Is Masonic in there as well?
I don't know that. I don't know about it.
But exactly the same thing with Mexico. The Catholic faith this is hard for Americans, I think, to get their minds around, because the Catholic faith in the Latin American countries is bound up intimately in the identity of the people. So as you mentioned festivals, it's the liturgical calendar that informs the annual life of the people of these countries in a way that it does not here in the United States. And it's hard for us to, we're kind of caught up in this idea of separation of church and state, but in the foundation of all these Latin American colonies, there was no such concept in that regard at all.
Well, right. That's exactly right. And I think it might have been you that told me about Dana, the American sailor, when he came to.
Oh yeah.
Can you tell that story?
Well, yeah. So Richard Henry Dana, for whom Dana Point is named, but he wrote that magnificent book that everybody should read 2 years before the Mass. He was an interesting chap. He was studying law, and he realized, he needed an experience that was going to make him a little more manly. And so he lives before the Mass. That is,
no offense to lawyers, by the
way. He lives before the Mass. That is forward the Mass, where the seamen live, the common seamen, and he fights seasickness. And it's a magnificent book. But finally, coming up the coast of California, they make a stop just north of us in Capistrano. In fact. It's called now that area, that beach is Dana Point, and where the ship stopped, and it's over Easter. It's over Easter week, and every other ship in the harbor comes from an Italian town or a Portuguese town or Spanish town or something like that. And their sailors are all rowing in to go to the bullfights and the fandangos and the feasts in Capistrano. And the guys on, I forget the name of Dana's boat, or ship rather, they're like picking barnacles and everything.
Yeah, right. Work ethic. Protestant work ethic.
Yeah, and he says, we're not getting any time off. And he says, I just don't think Catholicism is going to take off or they said something like Catholicism will never take off in New England because you have to take off too much time for it.
And that is,
of course, then the Irish come in, but
now the communists have replaced that. I mean, they'll work you to death. They'll make society. They'll take all the fun out of society.
Another disappointment here, Cy, insofar as I know, and I'm happy to be corrected, the Holy See, Pope Francis did write a letter to the people of Nicaragua, but it was, stay firm, and which of course you do want to hear from the Pope.
Right.
But the Holy See is a sovereign nation. Where I feel as if we should be hearing more public and regular objection about the treatment of the church from the Holy See. Similarly, like with the treatment of the journalist in Hong Kong who's in jail, that the Holy See seems sort of quiet about.
It does seem to me that if you had to...
Jimmy, what's his name?
Jimmy Lai, in Hong Kong. Poor Jimmy Lai. Pray for Jimmy Lai and the people of Hong Kong.
Publisher.
Yeah, but it does seem to me that, like on a general thing, that there was this politics of engagement of John Paul II that followed on after the kind of realpolitik of Ostpolitik
yes.
of the Vatican before that. It just seems to me that Francis has gone back to that,
yes.
which is the more traditional,
ineffective.
It doesn't work.
Yeah, well, you can have whatever. I was not trying to. I'm just trying to categorize it. I think that there is a.
Yeah, I mean, it's the attempt of like, how do we soften some of our critiques of these bad actors so they'll hopefully let bishops and priests continue to do the life-saving work that they're doing.
That this is a good idea. It doesn't work with children. It doesn't work with criminal governments.
Right. It's why we don't negotiate with terrorists.
Yeah.
Or liturgists. And I just want to read you again this very fine report from Juno Arocho Estevez in OSV News. I encourage you to read it.
Juno?
Well, okay.
I don't know. I'm
sure that it's Juno in Spanish. Yes, but
okay. Fair enough.
I was reading it in English.
You convincingly sold 2/3 of his name or her name. And his name.
All right, I'm moving on.
Okay, sorry.
What's he smoking?
All right, I'll pronounce Nicaragua. Okay, so
that's very NPR of you.
Thank you. I just want to read this guy. What's his name? Ortega. It's petty. It's not just malicious and it's petty. And so in November, the regime expelled another bishop, Bishop Carlos Enrique Herrera, president of the Nicaraguan Bishops' Conference. Bishop Herrera was forced to leave the country after he accused a local Sandinista mayor of sacrilege for blaring loud music outside the cathedral while Mass was being prayed on November 10th. It was just idiotic, childish, stupid.
Right.
What do you? And then when you speak up about it, they throw you out of the country if you're a bishop. So here's my proposal. I think Catholics should ask more of the Trump administration and hold their feet to the fire a little bit on this. And I believe in holding politicians' feet to the fire. I don't care how popular they are or how much you like them or hate them, whatever. Hold their feet to the fire. And he should meet with these Nicaraguan bishops that have been thrown out of the country, and he should prioritize this, get it into the news.
That's a great idea, Cy. And you can offer your Friday abstinence for the people of Nicaragua as well.
Yeah, since we're not having meat, so all of us Catholic Answers listeners are not having meat on Fridays in the coming year. If you've chosen to join that, but I do think we have the vice president, the incoming vice president, the vice president elect, is a Catholic. Write him, and put some heat into this. I mean, tell him I expect this of you, especially if you voted for him. Even if you didn't vote for him, you're the president of the United States. This is nonsense. You got the French Revolution going on. 71 miles, I think it's 71 miles from San Diego. Could we get some attention on this? I
mean, it seems, I don't want to put it in too political of terms, but it seems like a win-win politically. Like, you can actually do some good on the ground there. And if you're a Catholic vice president, say, or a conservative president, the fact that you can highlight this brutal dictator who's an outspoken Bernie Sanders supporter, I don't know, seems like a good chance to be like, look, maybe some of these nice-seeming policies the other side is proposing have never worked out well in reality, and that these Latin American countries that in the case of Bernie Sanders, he's sometimes highlighted as places that seem like they've got some good ideas, are engaged in these horrible crackdowns with a nasty, small-minded communist dictator.
All right. There's your assignment. Write a letter, send an email, call him. If you know J.D. Vance, I know about 50% of our listeners know J.D. Vance personally, so call him. We'll be right back with more of the news of the year from a Catholic perspective with the Flannel Panel on Catholic Answers Live.
Your questions, Catholic Answers Live.
Underwriting for Catholic Answers Live is provided by Real Estate for Life. Real Estate for Life connects homebuyers and sellers to real estate agents while supporting pro-life organizations. On the web at realestateforlife.org.
Turn to Mary, the Mother of God, for help bearing witness to the gift of life with the National Life Rosary. Designed exclusively for EWTN, the unique centerpiece and crucifix represent the reality that all life is sacred and begins at conception. Help build a culture of life with the National Life Rosary, available now at EWTNRC.com. EWTN is the global Catholic network.
Welcome back to the big year-end show here on Catholic Answers Live. Joe Heschmeyer, Chris Check with us. It's the Flannel Panel, and it's time for another guessing game where they get to guess what did our listeners vote on the following things. So these are the big news stories of the year. We'll do the big Catholic stories after we do the big secular stories of the year. And all we did was ask people who took the survey, how much did you follow this one? On a scale of 1 to 10, how much did you follow this story? So you two have to tell me how much you followed it and then how much our listeners followed it. And we'll keep score on this. Right now, Chris is ahead. Chris is ahead 6-5. I got to write that down. 6-5. Okay, so we're on we go. You guys ready? The big news stories of the year? All right, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much? 1 is being not at all, 10 being with burning interest. How much did you follow? The first one was the U.S. presidential election.
Oh, 9.5.
9.5 for you?
Wait, how much did I or our listeners?
No. First, you guys. How much did you follow?
Oh, 6.
About a 6?
I'm going to put myself at a 7. I followed it more than I wanted to.
I followed it like at 11. I didn't want to, but especially in the last few months of it, I followed it at like 11.
Well,
I knew all the
stuff. You're in media.
No, this was just obsessive stupidity on my part. And I followed it. I think it was 11 that I followed it.
I want to make a brief case against following that stuff.
Look at me.
Because I think some people are going to hear this and think, what are you guys talking about? You followed it too much. This is so important. The president's the most important person in the world and blah, blah, blah.
Blah, blah, blah.
It didn't change your vote. I mean, people listening right now who followed very closely, you were going to vote for who you were going to vote for. You didn't change it. You spent hours and hours and hours getting information you didn't need to reinforce the decision you'd already made.
Yeah.
That could have been time better used.
Agitated yourself in the process with whatever the latest.
Lost your peace over things that weren't going to happen.
Yep.
Either, hear all the horrors of Kamala Harris presidency that didn't come to fruition, or hear all the horrors of Project 2025 that's not a real thing. So, either way, you probably lost a decent amount of peace worrying about a future that wasn't going to happen. When you could have been spending that time more fruitfully in any number of other ways. And this is a person who can be guilty of this.
Both of you are speaking directly to me. Like, this is going directly into my heart. Your words are going directly, because I overdid it. All right. What did our listeners do? And there are fractions or percentages, decimal points in this. So I beg your pardon. So, they chose anything from 1 to 10, but then it averages out. So, how much did our listeners follow the U.S. presidential election on a scale of 1 to 10, Joe?
Oh, I've got to go first again. I'm going to say 9.
9 for Joe?
I'll say 9.1.
It is Joe. It was 8.5.
Oh.
So Joe got that one.
Good listeners.
All right. Inflation and economic uncertainty.
Were these numbers 2023 numbers, or have they grown?
No, 2024. Oh, I see what you're saying. Inflation. He made an inflation joke. Did you enjoy that? Neither of us. Just so you know, neither of us enjoyed it.
You explained it to me.
Yeah. You know what? Where I think you missed is you did it in one language. Try to do it bilingually next time. Half in Italian, half in English. Your jokes are better that way. Inflation and economic uncertainty. How much did you follow it, Chris?
4.
Yeah.
I mean, if having to pay more at the store counts as following it, then something. But I would periodically check and be like, oh, that's the rate. Okay, we're going to keep renting. I'm going to say 3.
I'm with you guys. I'm right between the two of you. I think a 3.5. It's just not. I mean, this is one where I felt like I can't do anything about it.
Right.
So, all right. What did our listeners do? Chris, you're first.
5.5.
5.5. Joe.
I'll do 5.
6.9. Chris got it. Chris got it.
Maybe they've got assets.
Ukraine war.
Like nothing I
They've
have
got
is going
assets.
to be affected by.
You've got assets, Joe. You're bilingual.
Not even that.
The Ukraine war. How much did people? No, how much did you follow it?
3.
I'm going to say 5. I wanted to say a little higher, but I mean, the truth is it fell out of the headlines, but every few weeks I'd be like, I should check on how things are going.
Yeah.
And I'd type in Ukraine war and I'd read and be like, this is bleak. And then I would repeat the cycle a couple weeks later.
Yeah, I think I was more like a 6. Again, I'm not proud of myself. I'm just saying. I think I was more like a 6.
I think it's worth, like the political horse race, the day-by-day stuff doesn't matter. Oh, what was the scandal of this week that's going to be forgotten 5 months before the election? That doesn't actually, that literally does not matter at all. If it doesn't change voter opinions, it doesn't, maybe there's a very small cumulative effect if someone has 30 scandals, but it never does. But on the other hand, with the war, it's like people are actually dying, and that's worth being aware of. So I don't feel as bad about someone who spends their time finding out about the real consequential stuff. I think the political horse race in the U.S. has become spectator sport as much as it has anything else. We could do short elections the way they do in most other places, but we choose to do these long, heavily publicized events that feel more like bread and circuses than they do like actual political deliberation. So, I mean, because you have this like 2-year cycle, and no one ever articulates a carefully nuanced policy on anything.
Chris?
Joe's point that people are dying, and even the people who are not dying, there are many people who are suffering as a consequence of this war is well taken, and we shouldn't forget that. It is getting a level of attention because something that you need in a democracy is another to hate. And so right now, among others, maybe he's still the principal one, it's Mr. Putin and the Russians. And we have to have somebody to hate because that's what, the media decides will unite us. Instead of, for example, someone to love, like Jesus Christ. But so I think there's an exaggerated focus on this. I am hopeful or optimistic, I'll even say, that Trump is going to find a way to wrap this thing up.
Well, I have to say, my only take on this is I am old enough now that I am tired of the annual war to save civilization. It seems like every year for the last 25 years, we've had the media pumping, we have to fight this war. You have to fund this war. You have to blow these people up. None of them turned out to be actual saving of civilization. I'm just tired of it. We're not saving civilization. You're blowing civilizations up. I'm sick of the warmongers in the media, and I'm ready for an end to it.
Can I footnote here? Russia is not going to invade Poland. They are not going to. They can't invade Poland.
Saddam didn't have weapons of mass destruction. You could go down the list of the annual war to save civilization. It never turns out that it actually saved civilization. Yeah. It kills. I mean, how many millions have to die before we say to CNN, you know what, this year we're not going to do your war. Whatever war you're pushing this year, CNN. I mean, it's going to be Syria. They're going to be pushing for the U.S. to get in there. I guarantee you in 2025, CNN will be actively pushing for the moral, absolute necessity of getting into Syria.
Well,
I'm done. We're enough saving civilization. Too many people are dying.
Aren't we already? I mean, we're funding the people in Syria.
We're funding people on both sides right now.
That's good. I'm glad we're doing that.
It's U.S.-backed militias fighting U.S.-backed militias. And eventually somebody's going to win, and they're almost certainly going to be bad.
All right, so
I would even go so far as to say probably worse than the Assad regime, which was very bad.
There is a war that I have been paying attention to.
Well, that's next. I just got to finish this one because I know you. I know. All right. So the Ukraine war. How much did our listeners pay attention to it on a scale of 1 to 10?
6.3.
6.3. Joe?
7.
It's 5.7. Chris is closer.
All right.
Israel, Hamas, Hezbollah, Iran war.
For me, that's got to be an 8.
An 8 for Chris?
Yeah.
I'm going to say a 6 as well. I honestly, I'm like a 5. I've followed that less than I followed the Ukraine war. It's hard keeping up with all of the conflicts.
Chris, go ahead. You want to say
the obvious.
I'm so sorry. I didn't do the clock well, Chris. Can you want to do it now?
I'll
or you
just
want to
say
wait?
now the obvious and grave injustice that's underway. I can't look away from it. I'm glad the Pope has said something. I'm glad Amnesty International has said something. I'm glad the country of South Africa has said something.
We'll come right back. We'll find out what others said about the war in Israel right after this on Catholic Answers Live. What was the church like in its infancy? In a word, Catholic. And Joe Heschmeyer has the receipts. In his best-selling book, The Early Church Was the Catholic Church, he gives you the details from the historical records of the first 2 centuries of Christianity. Right now, get a copy for just $10, plus free shipping if you live in the continental United States. Get more information and order The Early Church Was the Catholic Church at theearlychurchwascatholic.com.
When the resurrected Jesus appeared to disciples on the road to Emmaus, they didn't recognize him until the breaking of the bread. The same is true today. In the Holy Eucharist, we really meet Jesus. In The Eucharist is Really Jesus, author Joe Heschmeyer explains how knowing Jesus in the Eucharist is the key to understanding all of Christian faith. Order your copy of The Eucharist is Really Jesus today at shop.catholic.com or get it at a good Catholic bookstore near you.
Is the Catholic faith still a rock amidst the waves of history? Why does it so often seem to be a mess? In his latest book, Confusion in the Kingdom, best-selling author Trent Horn helps you to get to the roots of the present chaos, explaining the destabilizing movements within Catholicism and exposing the harm and scandal progressive Catholicism has caused. Order your copy of Confusion in the Kingdom today at shop.catholic.com or ask for it at a good Catholic bookstore.
Is orthodoxy an alternative to the Catholic Church? In a time of uncertainty for many Catholics, orthodoxy can look like greener pastures. Answering Orthodoxy, the new book from Catholic Answers Press, explains why Catholics who are thinking of leaving need to think twice. There are important reasons to remain in the Catholic Church and convincing answers to Orthodox claims. Order your copy of Answering Orthodoxy today at shop.catholic.com or ask for it at a good Catholic bookstore near you.
Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. Chris Check, Joe Heschmeyer here. I'm Cy Kellett, your host. It's a Flannel Panel the big year-end show, and we're getting short of time, and I feel bad about that. But we have to get to Catholic Podcast of the Year and Catholic Person of the Year. It has to be done today. It cannot be postponed. So.
Father Mike Schmitz has not received his annual accolades from Catholic Answers.
We can't add an hour.
All right, so I forget where I was.
Would this show still work like 3 months from now if we want to come back to it?
Israel, Hamas, Hezbollah, Iran war. Chris followed it an 8. Joe followed it like maybe a 5. I think.
I didn't follow it as closely.
I think I was about
super
the same.
Depressing.
Also, I honestly often feel completely baffled. Like I don't know. I really don't know like who the players are, where they are. Well,
I can explain where they are. They're in a very small,
tiny little box,
place called
the size of
Gaza,
Massachusetts?
and they're trapped there while they're being starved.
Yeah, right.
Well, women, children, civilians are being starved.
Yeah, but that's not the whole thing. I mean, there's the Hezbollah side of it. There's the Iran side of it. There's the Egypt side of it.
Sure.
I mean, Egypt is just pathetic in the way Egypt is behaving. They will not help the people of Gaza. So I know I'm not excusing anybody else, but it's horrific. They have a border with them. They close the border and will not assist.
Yes.
Why are we? I don't know.
They're complicit in the starvation.
But that's so many people. Iran is complicit. Iran doesn't care how many of
United
these
States
people
of
die.
America.
The U.S. is complicit in this. It's just and I cannot imagine what it is. So I do end up feeling frustrated. Like I don't get any of this, and so maybe that's evil of me. I don't know, but
What did our listeners?
And look what happened to the Israelis on October 7th. That's a huge horror. Like I even forgot to mention that, and I don't forget about that. But it's so many horrors, one after the other.
So I'm glad you brought that up, Si, because this raises one of the chief difficulties of having an honest and cool-headed conversation about this thing. Because if you say there are women and children being starved in Gaza, it also means that you support setting up a tent city in the academic quadrangle of Columbia University, and protesting,
a Jew hater.
Yeah, exactly, or that you're anti-Semitic or something of this nature, or that you think that, or that you think that the events of October 7th were, justified or whatever. No one is saying that. No one reasonable is saying anything like that.
No one on this show is saying that.
Yes, right.
Other places, maybe.
This is so contentious because of the peoples and the religions involved that it is very, very difficult to have a level-headed and accurate conversation where you could, for example, talk about what's proportionate. What's a proportionate response to the events of October 7th? Because the response now is disproportionate.
Well, that's the thing is.
And by the way, proportion, that's in Catholic. So that's in Catholic teaching.
At the core of Catholic teaching about jus in bello.
I'm less optimistic about Trump on this one than I am about Trump on Ukraine. But where did our listeners fall? I'm going to say 7.2.
Joe? Take longer. It's radio. Take long, silent pauses.
Silence is great.
I'll say 7.
Joe won that one. It was 6.5.
Oh. Huh.
That deliberation paid off.
Which is not an overwhelming level of interest. All right, let's do the big story of the year then, if you add it all up, was the U.S. presidential election. I don't think that there's any doubt about that. That was the big story of the year. I mean, including...
Yeah, not just in the United States.
Including a couple at least 2 assassination attempts that I know of. I don't know. I feel like we'll find out about some more later or something. The debates of various levels of unbelievableness on both sides. Just wild stuff.
Complete misrepresentation of the polling data on the Democratic side. From months preceding.
Right.
Yeah, they just lied about the polling data.
Yeah, but when you have the election and you go, oh, that doesn't look anything like the polls. That's weird. Yeah. Anyway. Okay, so let's do the big Catholic stories of the year, though, because I'm running low on time, and I apologize for that. So how much did you pay attention to these stories on a scale of 1 to 10? Let's start with the Notre Dame Cathedral reopening. That's a big Catholic story. How much did you pay attention to it?
7.
I haven't watched the reopening Vespers, so I feel like I can't give myself a 10. I'll say 7.
All right.
I want to recommend a video from Our Lady of Guadalupe from December 12th at the Notre Dame Cathedral of the mariachis in the sanctuary singing a song to Our Lady. It is the most moving thing. And
in the sanctuary of Our Lady of Guadalupe?
No.
Oh.
On the Feast of Our Lady of Guadalupe in Notre Dame, in the restored Paris
beautiful.
Cathedral, on the Feast of Our Lady of Guadalupe. It's so beautiful, and it reminds me of that quote from Chesterton or whomever that Joe has used about the Catholic Church. Here comes everybody. I remember being in
James Joyce, I believe.
I remember being in Santa Pudenziana, which is the Filipino church in Rome, early 5th century Paleo-Christian church, and it is now the Filipino church in Rome. And you go in there on a Saturday afternoon, evening, and it's the guitars and Tagalog.
I can't pronounce foreign languages, Joe says.
And it's full of Filipinos worshiping God. And you think, in this old Roman church where St. Peter, probably offered the Holy Sacrifice of the Mass in the home of Senator Pudens. And you think, this is it. This is the Church Universal. So beautiful. And that's exactly the feeling I had. So find that video, my friends, of the mariachis in the sanctuary at
I'm going to find that.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, there's something very beautiful about it. I remember serving Christmas Mass in Oslo, Norway, alongside a Nicaraguan and Filipino and Norwegian altar server, and thinking, this is the universal church. You don't see this in any other context.
No.
All right, how did our listeners go on that one?
Notre Dame, I'm going to say 6.5.
I'm going to go 8.
It was 5.7.
Wow, come on, listeners. That was so much easier to follow than a war.
That was so much easier to follow. And good for France. Good for France for getting it done.
$1 billion or whatever.
And not doing any of the crazy redesigns.
Well,
Speaking of, kind of the false alarm, there were a lot of horrible proposals.
No, they did
and
it
then
right.
The actual church looks good.
It's stunning.
I don't like the altar.
Everyone's
but
talking about the altar.
The altar is terrible, and the ambo.
Yeah, I have a feeling.
And the vestments.
Yeah.
But other than that.
All right. All right.
The jelly.
All right, I need to ask you guys to
jelly
have
bean
shorter
vestments.
takes now. I just got to have a quicker takes. Synod on synodality. How much did you follow it on a scale of 1 to 10?
3.
How much
He's
did you
0
follow?
an acceptable answer.
Really? 0, Joe? Wow,
I mean,
that's unacceptable
I
answer.
want to
Sure.
get a synod on synodality.
Well, no,
to find
1
out
is
more
not at all.
about
1 is
what's going on.
Okay.
I read a few articles, maybe like a 3.
I said a 3.
All right.
I do work for a Catholic media apostolate.
Yeah. I didn't really follow it, and I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think there was as much reporting on it because the Pope took all the controversial stuff off, and then everybody's like, okay, whatever. So it became normal. It stopped being big news.
Right.
I think the Pope did that himself. I think he did it on purpose. What did our listeners say? On a scale of 1 to 10, how much did they follow the Synod on synodality?
3.5.
Joe, could you take longer on these? Good Lord.
I said 4. I said it right away. Did you hear me?
Did I not hear it? I didn't. No, we didn't hear it.
Oh, okay.
It was 4.1. Joe got that one. Joe got that one.
I was like waiting for you.
Oh, okay. I'm so sorry,
no,
Joe.
that's-
We didn't
that's
hear
all
it in
right.
here.
I think we said it at the same time. So
All right. How much
fair
did you
enough.
follow the following story on a scale of 1 to 10? It's one of the big Catholic stories of the year, Eucharistic Congress. How much did you follow it?
I was there. I'm going to say
That's a 10.
9.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, 9. Okay. Joe's a 9.
Yeah.
I don't know, 7.5 for me. We did send a team.
I feel bad. It was only about a 6 for me. I should have done more. I heard that, and I have not found it yet. I heard that Monsignor Mark Shea was this, other than Jesus, of course, was the star of the show.
James Shea?
James Shea.
James
What did I
Shea?
say? Mark. I said Mark. Okay.
Mark Shea.
Of course.
He's a different guy.
That's a different Catholic, but Monsignor James Shea. Yeah.
From the University of Mary.
But I have not heard it yet. I still have not found it to hear it. So,
Also,
what did our listeners
hat
think?
tip to the Bishop of
Cousins?
Cousins.
Yeah, Bishop Cousins, who organized the
Who,
whole
by
thing.
the way, is a Catholic Answers Live listener.
And who was a
He
guest
listens
once.
on
We
his
had him.
drive home, which he said is 1.6 miles. So I think he's probably already
He's probably listening
moved on
now.
to dinner by now.
I would also like to say the best Catholic bishop in America is Bishop Cousins. Now that I found out he's a listener. Okay, what did our listeners think on a scale of 1 to 10? How much did they listen to? How much did they?
6.5.
Chris did it again. It was 6.2.
Nice.
All right.
I don't even want to know the story
Another
at
of
this
the
point.
biggest Catholic stories of the year. How much did you pay attention to this, Chris and Joe? One of the biggest Catholic stories of the year. Father Justin, AI priest.
10.
You both did 10?
Oh, definitely a 10. I followed all of those stories. It was great.
I complain about CNN all the time. They did the best report on this.
They were so gracious.
They were fantastic on this. They nailed it. Good job, CNN.
You know, a show in which Chris praises Amnesty International, Cy praises CNN unironically, and there's a pot shot at OSV News. This is not the show that I think
one you were
people thought they
expecting,
gonna-
huh?
Okay, clarification on OSV News. The young lady who interviewed me on the Father Justin story
Yeah.
gave a very good interview and gave a very excellent account. I can't
Yes.
recall her name, but it's on there. There was a principal at OSV who said that Father Justin was blasphemous.
It's not
It
blasphemous.
isn't
Get
blasphemous.
over it.
It was just a ridiculous thing to say, and this man who said it knows
That he
better.
All right, how did our listeners pay attention to this? On a scale of 1 to 10, how much did they pay attention to the story of Father Justin, AI priest?
7.
I was going to say 7, but I guess I'll go 6.
2.8. They couldn't care
We
less.
might have an in-house bias of caring about this story too much.
That was Joe got that one. Yeah, I kind of suspected that. Whiny people on Twitter are not real.
Yeah.
And stop paying attention to them.
John Sorensen and I, as a consequence of our foray into AI, were invited to a conference at the Pontifical Academy of Sciences on AI in October.
And if we had more time, I really wanted to talk about that, and I apologize, but I did not.
Have me on sometime.
I'll have you on the show sometime. I'll do that, Chris. Oppression of the church in Nicaragua on a scale of 1 to 10. How much did you follow it?
8.
I followed it not very much at all. I'm going to say 3.
I'm going to go with 5. How about our listeners? Joe, what do you think our listeners said? Scale of 1 to
2.
10. 2?
3.
4.1. Chris got that one.
They're lying.
Yeah. By the way, God bless J.D. Flynn and his colleagues.
They
there
did
at
a
the
great
Pillar.
job. Yeah. In addition, I should have said that.
Yep.
Pope's travels to Singapore, Indonesia, and various other. Also, why am I forgetting the name of the little country that Timor, East Timor. One of the best Catholic stories of the year. How much did you follow that trip?
2.
6. I got a lot of questions about it.
All right, I probably
because that's the one where he talked about the different religions.
Oh, that's right.
That
was
is
4.5.
right. Okay.
Our
So
listeners
I
on
have
a
to change
scale of
my
1 to
answer.
10. How did our listeners
I'm going
do?
to say 5.
I'm going to say 4.
Joe, it was a 3.5. Joe got that one.
God, we're trading these.
Yeah. Notice that our
you've got the lead, so swapping is in your favor.
Our listeners really don't care about Father Justin or the Pope. That's just really low on those. I had to say,
Pope Justin, that was an idea
we never thought of that. I will just say this: 50% of the country of East Timor attended Mass with the Pope. A single Mass that
is
drew
amazing.
50% of the country. I don't think that's ever happened in the history of the world.
If it happened in the U.S., the church would literally collapse. There'd be a lot of people who try to fit in one place.
That would yeah, right. I don't even know if we have space for half the population of America. Do we? I don't know how that works. I'm not good at math. All right, on we go. The last.
That is amazing.
I chose this as one of the big Catholic stories of the year. This was my choice, so don't fuss at me. Kansas City Chiefs kicker Harrison Butker commencement address. How much did you follow it?
10.
10.
I read every possible story.
You read everything.
This was at the precise intersection of every interest I have.
I again, because where I work, I'm going to say maybe a 6.
I think I was a 6 too on it. How much did our listeners do, Chris?
6.5.
6.5, Joe?
7.
5.5. Chris got that one.
I think
Chris got that one. That brings us to the break. Coming up, what were the big stories of the year? What was the big Catholic? Who was the Catholic person of the year? And a new category, what was the Catholic podcast of the year? It's going to be a lightning round because I got a lot of material to get to in a short time. But I'm not regretting that we spent so much time talking about Nicaragua. I feel like my conscience is a little bit clearer because we did. Right back with more with the Flannel Panel on Catholic Answers Live.
Hang on. Catholic Answers Live will return in a moment.
In Morse code, the sequence SOS is a distress call. It's been said that it stands for Save Our Souls. Well, right now our world is in big trouble, and we're putting out an SOS call for help. Will you answer that call? St. Paul Street Evangelization, a Catholic nonprofit, has hundreds of teams who share the good news with souls who don't know Jesus. Catholic Answers is supported in part by St. Paul Street Evangelization. Visit streetevangelization.com to get involved.
This is Monsignor Arthur Calkins. I'm so grateful to have this opportunity to speak on a Catholic radio station, which is so necessary for all of us to strengthen our faith. This is a great task of evangelization, and we thank God that Catholic radio is available in order to do so.
The world needs EWTN Catholic Radio, now more than ever.
Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. I am Cy Kellett, your poor timekeeping host, or bad at timekeeping host. We got a super important stuff to get to. The whole entire Catholic world is waiting to find out who will be named by Catholic Answers listeners as the Catholic Person of the Year, who will be named, or what will be named as Catholic Podcast of the Year. We've also got Catholic Word of the Year and Big News Story of the Year. People get to choose what they thought was the most important or the biggest, however they categorize it, the biggest news story of the year. What do you choose for the biggest news story of the year, each of you?
Oh, I don't.
Chris, you can go first.
Oh, I don't have any idea. Oh, the biggest news story of the year?
Yeah.
From my perspective, or just
what was the biggest
objectively
from your perspective?
Oh, I don't.
Father Justin.
I don't.
Father Justin. Yeah. Joe, do you have a?
Are people going to say something like the election?
Anything. It could be literally anything.
Okay.
Is it Cy's new hairstyle?
It is not. That did not make it.
I am honestly coming up short because I think the things that people talked about synod and synodality and everything else did kind of peter out.
No, I'm not talking big Catholic news story of the year. The biggest news story of the year.
Big news story of anything.
Yeah, of anything on earth.
Well, it was the American presidential election.
It was by a long shot the American presidential election. I included anything that had the name Trump on it in that, like somebody shot Trump or Trump, whatever. I included that. It was 5 times bigger than any other story.
Time Magazine thought so.
Did they? Oh, they made him Man of the Year, huh?
Yeah.
Trump Man of the Year.
Well, when do you lose an election and then come back? Has that? The
last one was Grover Cleveland.
Grover Cleveland, right?
Yeah.
22nd and 24th president.
Yeah, better as the 22nd. Okay, no, I'm just kidding. I don't know anything about Grover Cleveland.
He had a child bride, right?
The number 2 biggest story of the year was the National Eucharistic Congress, and there was not a number 3. Everything else was so low that it statistically couldn't even make it. So the election dominated the year. I have to say, and I'll get each of your take on this. 2024 went better than I expected it to. I realized that a lot of bad stuff happened, but I was prepared for utter disaster this year. I spent the whole year ready for utter disaster, and it did not materialize.
Why were you worried about utter disaster?
I thought the election was going to be tied. Like I just thought there was going to be riots in the streets. I thought somebody might use a nuke somewhere because there kept being wars everywhere. And
let me be a little bit optimistic then. I think people are feeling less crazy than they were feeling a few years ago. Like one thing I think we undervalue is people were cooped up in their house with COVID and were thinking they were dying. I mean, leave aside whether they should have been worried about that or not. They were worried about that. Then they were cooped up in their house, and then it was like a tinderbox. And so people were getting really upset, and they were spending way too much time online. This is a recipe for disaster.
Right.
I mean, you see it on a small scale with like incels, people who spend too much time at home on the internet when they should be outside. And then we did that to the entire country. And we were just like, oh, this is what it looks like for an entire country or world to just go completely deranged. And I think as people have emerged, they've sort of sheepishly pretended that didn't happen.
And gone back to being human beings.
And so the craziness of like 4 years ago, we just kind of moved past it. And the craziness in any number of ways. And so I think the nuttiness is not on the ascendancy right now. It's seemingly on the decline.
I'm so happy to hear that. I'm going to have to leave that as the take for this,
Yeah,
Chris.
okay.
I apologize because I got to go to Catholic Word of the Year. That's a new category. Catholic Word of the Year. What was the Catholic Word of the Year 2024?
Synodality.
Chris?
Eucharist.
It was Eucharist.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Word of the Year?
Wait a minute. Wait, do I
Catholic Word of the Year? Because we had the Eucharistic Congress.
Do I get a point?
All right,
Do I
all
get a point? I get a point for that?
No, I don't think we're doing points for this one. Sorry, Chris. You already won 12-10. Okay, I forgot to say it. Chris won 12-10. Oh, look, you're getting a standing ovation. Oh, no, never mind. They're all just sitting ignoring us. I get confused between standing ovation and everyone just sitting and ignoring us. Eucharist was 1. Synod on Synodality was 2. And Sacraments.
Okay, I'll take my silver medal there.
Sacraments was a distant 3. I guess
It's like second place in tennis, Joe.
It's pretty close to second place
you
in
still
tennis.
end up with love.
All right, here comes the 2 categories everyone's been waiting for. First, Catholic Podcast of the Year.
Council of Trent.
Jim Akins and Serious World.
Neither of
No,
those.
I'm going to go Bible in a Year, actually. I'm going to say Bible in a Year still wins.
Nope.
Matt Fradd.
All right, Matt Fradd, at least we're in the ballpark. Matt Fradd is 3rd. Oh,
Wow.
no. I'm sorry. It's hard to tell because I count it. I apologize to Matt Fradd for this because he should probably get the 3rd place sticker. But Father Mike Schmitz, people did Bible/Catechism in a year, Catechism in a year. And I just, if you put them all together, he's slightly ahead of Pints with Aquinas for
more
for
like
3rd
Matt
place.
Fraud. I love Matt Fradd.
That's mean. So I don't know what you guys make the call. Who gets 3rd place?
I think Father Mike Schmitz gets it. The
'cause
fact
it's
that
all
he
the
has
same
2
thing.
successful podcasts should not count against him.
Yeah, but this is what bothers me. Somebody wrote Catechism in a Year, parentheses, sorry, Cy, close parentheses. Why do people think I'm against Father Mike Schmitz? I have never said a word
You know what?
against...
Just as a peace offering, you should have him on the show.
No.
What I'm really doing is getting a very good guest on your show.
I know. We try to get him on the show. He's very busy. All right, so I'm going to
He's
go
probably upset that you don't like him.
I'm going to go. Oh, my goodness. Father Mike Schmitz is third, all right? So I put him over.
Wow.
Matt Fradd is fourth. Number
Was Council of
2.
Trent?
Number 2. They knew who was going to be on the show. Shameless Popery came in number 2. You beat all the other guys. Now, Jimmy has 2 different podcasts, so that's part of why you beat Jimmy. But Shameless Popery, they knew you were going to be on the show. But also,
Look at that.
people love you. Also, you voted 8 times. So congratulations on that. By the way, neither Chris nor Joe voted at all. Shameless Popery, get it at shamelessjoe.com. Number 1.
Council of Trent.
This is amazing because the question is posed from Catholic Answers. Catholic Answers won. People, they chose Catholic Answers Live as the number 1 pod. It's so.
This is like when you give people a poll about whether they like answering polls, and you're like, amazingly, 100% of people like answering.
I feel like that is so cheating. We should have said other than the people who are currently asking you this question.
You know, most of the people who listen to the
that's
show,
not going to count.
I think probably do listen to it in its podcast
I
form.
appreciate people saying that, but I also feel like that was a little bit cheesy, and I feel like that moves Matt Fradd into 3rd place. Congratulations, Matt Fradd.
You can probably bump me too from the list for the same reason, but either way.
No, I think they had
So Trent didn't get any love at all.
Oh yeah, all Jimmy, Trent, everybody got something named Loop Podcast that I've never heard of. People should look at that. Apparently, Catholic Stuff You Should Know. A Council of Trent got a bunch.
I get the Loop
Jimmy Aiken got a
email.
bunch.
It has a podcast.
You get the what?
The Loop email.
Clock is ticking.
We have to do Person of the Year. Catholic Person of the Year. Why don't you tell me who your Catholic Person of the Year is?
Cy Kellett.
Luce. Father Justin.
All 3 of those. That's funny, but this is the problem. Father Justin, apparently not a person. And so
he's at pains to tell people.
He's a lay
They
person.
covered that at the conference that they went to in the Vatican. Yeah.
All right. It's a tie for Catholic Person of the Year. We got so many. Pope Francis made the list. Sister Josephine Garrett made the list. Bishop Corleone made the list. Bishop Barron made the list. Bishop Snyder, Bishop Cousins, Bishop Strickland, or former Bishop Strickland, Father David Moses, Patrick
he's still
Madrid.
a bishop,
I'm just
right?
giving you people who made the list. We didn't prompt people on
Strickland
this.
is still a bishop,
yes,
right?
That's
He's just
right.
not
former ordinary.
He doesn't have a
right.
C. Yeah.
Al Cresta got votes. I was really glad that
that
Al
is good.
Cresta got votes.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
Matt Walsh. You know who Matt Walsh is, right? How to Be a Lady or something, or
He's
what's
a
it called?
comedian.
What is a
Very
woman?
sim-
What is
very
a woman?
close.
I
Very
knew I was in the ballpark.
How to Be a Lady.
However, there is so little. Like people just didn't agree on this at all. So the 2 people who are tied for the winner. It doesn't count. It doesn't matter. None of this matters. Harrison Butker got votes. Jonathan Roumie got votes. Melania Trump, Jordan Peterson. I don't even think he's Catholic.
He's not.
Did I say Harrison
His wife
Butker?
is.
All right, here's the tie. Tying for Catholic Person of the Year, Vice President J.D. Vance and Father Mike Schmitz.
Wow, there you go.
Both with almost barely a lead on all the other people I just mentioned, but they did it.
Both bearded. I just want to throw that out
Wait,
there.
Father Mike
It's a
Schmitz
good
is wearing
year.
a beard now?
Yes.
Sometimes.
Is he?
I don't know. He shaves sometimes, but I think he's got one in his latest videos.
Get it together,
So-
Father Mike. It makes you look like a criminal. Stop wearing a beard. I don't know why people think I have anything against Father Mike Schmitz. I think he's the greatest. But no, I'm going to say something serious about Father Mike Schmitz, and I will add this to J.D. Vance. Would you please pray for Father Mike Schmitz? This guy is the most famous Catholic priest in the world now, other than Pope Francis.
Yeah, priesthood and celebrity are a bad combination.
Constantly tell me that he's like one of the handsomest people in the world. He's brilliant.
Good cover.
He's good. And the devil must hate him. So right now, say a prayer for Father Mike Schmitz. Not because
Amen.
I hate him. I love him. I don't know why people think I have a thing against Father Mike Schmitz. I don't know where that came from. Chris Check, you've done an awful good job this year.
Merry Christmas.
I'm going to get you a Luce doll.
Oh, sweet.
Merry Christmas to you, too. Thank you.
And to Joe.
Joe Heschmeyer, you've done a lot of work this
to
year.
you both. And a shout out to Minnesota, which has Barron, Schmitz, and Bishop Cousins.
Wow. Nice going, Minnesota. Get something else right, will you? Oh, no. Sorry about that. I apologize. See you next year. on Catholic Answers Live.